Hi, this season I'm going to matches with former players, but before we get to the match, we do a little interview, so let's go and check that out. Tonight, Blackpool play Lincoln City, and I have a guest coming in with me. It's Dennis Wann, and for those of you that aren't old enough to know anything about Dennis Wann, let's find out all about him. Hi Dennis, good evening. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
All right, we're going to go and grab a coffee and find out all about your career.
This is me doing the legwork for Lee, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's very lazy, getting old men to carry his tea.
Are you looking forward to the game tonight?
I really am, Lee. There's a real upturn in the expectation, I think, of Blackpool now. And I did see a couple of games prior to the manager departing, and I have seen one since. And yes, on the strength of what I saw on that game, I'm really looking forward to the match.
Yes, and they're playing 4-4-2, which I'm sure you'll know what that system is all about, as every football player does.
Absolutely, and I think if you remember, last year I sent you a thing of, I thought with the players that Blackpool had, they should go back to 4-4-2.
Yes.
It's seen as a dinosauric way of playing, but I think that a team should play to the players it's got rather than have a system and try and shoehorn the players in.
Exactly, because Critch seemed to just want every player to be able to play in odd positions and cover.
Okay, yeah.
So he was playing, now we're playing, as you'll see tonight, we've got Jordan Gabriel playing as a right back.
Right.
Where Critch would play CJ Hamilton as an attacking right wing back when he's actually a left winger. So now CJ Hamilton's on the left wing, playing as a winger.
And
that makes a big difference to CJ Hamilton because he's not running from wing back all the time.
Well, as I say, 4-4-2 for me is an attacking system because it becomes 4-2-4 when you're attacking.
Yeah.
Well, it certainly did when I was playing, and I played in a successful team that used that formation. But what I'm seeing now is that Blackpool seem to have a plan. They seem to know what they should be doing. Where the games prior, they didn't look happy with the system to me, and the players in the middle, when they looked up, didn't seem really to have much option, which is why I think they did this playing out from the back. And I think you would agree, a lot of the times it went to CJ Hamilton. He didn't take anybody on, he stopped and passed it back.
Yeah.
Now, what I've seen of him, he's got terrific pace. And trust me, Lee, fullbacks don't like pace.
No.
And again, I'm not over sure of the players' first names, but the lad who played on the right on Saturday,
Roberto.
What a fabulous goal he scored.
Now, people, I'm going to ask you this because I'm going to look at it tonight because I'm going to ask your opinion, but people are already liking him to a young Tony Green because he's got the same sort of balance. And if he's half the player that Tony Green is, I mean, have a look at him and see if it reminds you tonight.
Well, I saw that goal he scored Saturday, and that was a goal of a player showing admirable ability and confidence. And they've got two players now wide when they get the ball that can buy yardage. They don't have to pass back, they can buy yardage, and if they take the full-back on, they don't always beat it, they're going to get a throw-in and maybe a corner. And it's giving the midfield players more options to pass, and I've really enjoyed. He's done a very good job in a short time. We all know season's a long season, and teams will see how Blackpool have changed, and maybe they will react to how they play Blackpool. But no, I see a team full of confidence now, and fans going to watch the game with expectancy instead of expecting a negative approach. They've now got a positive approach.
Yeah. A lot of people were saying last season that they wouldn't come back because the football was just too boring, and there was just, you know, one or two shots a game and all that. You know, we're now getting like 11 shots in the first half, and that's a big difference.
Well, also I think because of the way they are playing, Blackpool all of a sudden have stopped conceding and they're scoring goals, and those goals are being spread about, which is always a very, very good thing.
Yeah, it is a good thing.
And I mean, I'm not sure how many goals CJ Hamilton scored, but has he scored in the last 2 or 3 games?
Yeah.
And he looks dangerous to me.
He does look he looks a totally different player.
Well, I remember watching him last year in a game he was playing out on the right, like you said. And he got this ball, and the first 5 minutes, second half, he skinned the fullback. I thought, oh, he's in for a torrid time, this fullback. But he never did it again.
No, he
now, I don't
backwards.
know if that's coming from the management at the time.
No.
I don't know.
We'll never know. But anyway, what we need to talk about is you, really. So my first question to you, Dennis, obviously for those younger viewers that don't know who you are, we're going to find out about you. So When did you first kind of get into football? Was it at school? What age were you when you first started realising you had a bit of a talent for it?
I went to Stanley, not junior school, yeah. And the last year there, we started playing football. It was a way of getting out of the odd lesson here and there, so I started in that. Then I went to St George's, which, because I'm a council child, I came from their side. I went to St George's and they had football teams, played there every year. And as I was getting to about 15, Mearside, where I live, had the youth club there, and they had two teams. They had the younger team was under 16s, then they had the senior team. And I got into that team and thought, oh, I'm not too bad at this, I'm doing all right. And never ever thinking about going into football. Those days you used to get a career master who would come to school, and I was thinking or saying I wanted to go in the police, which I don't think I would have been very good at, given that my daughter's just finished 30 years as CID, and having seen what she dealt with and how she dealt with it, I'm not so sure I would have been as good at that. But as I was playing for Mearside, we got to a final, which would, I guess, would be like the end of April, May. And believe me, Lee, we were not bothered about getting to the final. The final was on Bloomfield Road, the mecca for local kids. It was like the Wembley for local kids. We were all more excited than that. So I played in this final, and 2 days later I got a phone call to go and see Stan Mortensen. He was the manager at Blackpool at the time.
Right.
I think Harry Johnson and him were the management duo then, and said they would like to offer me an apprenticeship. I'd never had a trial or anything. I could have gone to Wolverhampton Wanderers, who were in the first division in my day, they're Premier League now. Yeah. Blackburn Rovers they were. And I could have gone to Port Vale, and I'm not sure, looking back now, whether I should have gone there, given that what I'm going to tell you. I think I'd have been in their first team by 17 years old.
Right.
But no, I went to Blackpool. So I played on that game on Bloomfield Road.
Yeah.
How
old were you at this time?
I would have been just 16.
Right,
16.
Okay.
The next game of football I played was in Blackpool reserve team at Man City away. Now, I don't know, your younger viewers won't know, but in the day, and when I signed for Blackpool, I think there's a team picture, there must be 30, 35 pros and 6 or 7 apprentices. So if you didn't, there was only one substitute, obviously. So if you didn't play in the first team, and you were lucky, there was a reserve team. All the players that weren't playing played in the reserve team. So at Blackpool, I played in the reserve team with Glyn James, an international, Dave Hatton, an international, and against players that were internationals. So you learnt quickly on your feet. So I went from playing with my mates from Mearside to this game at Man City, and you had to learn on your feet. And it was a really good standard, Lee.
Talk about being thrown in the deep end.
It was a really good standard, and I did okay. The season started, and Blackpool had 5 teams. The first team, the reserves, A team, B team, youth team. So the fixtures would come out like, so in Blackpool, say we're playing Liverpool away on a Saturday, I'm saying we, the reserves, would play Liverpool at home on a Saturday, and that's how the fixtures kind of work. Down to
the reverse fixtures.
Reserve fixtures. And it was a very, very difficult league. And I can remember playing at Liverpool and playing against Ian St John, Ron Yates, all who had been injured. And
such a good system, though, wasn't it?
Well, they didn't sit on the bottoms. They were playing A to get their fitness back, but B, they were playing to get their place back in the team. So it was a very, very good standard. And after about 2 or 3 months of that first season when I'd played at Man City, I got into the reserve team. I don't think I ever played in the A team ever again. So I did play a lot of games in there. But of course, and I have to bring this up now, at the time at Blackpool, there was 5 internationals in the first team. If you talk of Jimmy Armfield, he'd played in the World Cup in '62. Glyn James played for Wales, such a solid, dependable player. There was Alan Suddick, who played for England under 23s. And of course, there was Tommy Hutchison and Tony Green.
Yeah.
So my path to the first team, to be fair,
Yes,
was very hard because
difficult.
in front of me in my positions was Tommy Hutchison, Tony Green, Alan Suddick, who to me was an amazing player. And Tony was my favourite, Tony Green was my favourite.
Yeah.
So it was very difficult to get a game. I was always like 13 or 14 in a squad, but I was doing all right. And then just before I was coming up to be signing as a pro, I got a letter saying you've been selected for England youth trials, which were held then down in Lilleshall.
Right.
So I went, little me from Blackpool on my own, and there was all the players of the era of that your younger people won't know, but you will probably know of, and your older viewers will know, with Charlie George, Alan Hudson, all those kind of, who were very, very good players. Dave Thomas played for England full team, and a lot of players. And I was like on my own. I used to take the Angling Times with me and read it in my room at night. But once I got on the pitch, I discovered, hey, you know, I can handle this.
Yeah.
So I got right through from, I think it started with 70 boys, and then 2 weeks later they'd send you again, or you'd be eliminated.
Right.
Anyway, I got right into the last 16. I've got a letter at home from the FA saying to get your passport to go and play in the Junior World Cup kind of thing.
Oh, wow.
So, but I would have never got in the team because Dave, as I said, I think it was Dave Thomas, he was at Burnley, he was a winger, he got in. But anyway, that was an achievement. I got there and I thought, I'm doing all right here. And I'd grown a bit of confidence, and they'd begin to accept me more. They'd stopped calling me Little Blackpool and called me by my name. So I get this letter to get the passport, and they were playing Luxembourg at West Ham.
Right.
The next thing I get, Dave Thomas has been injured. You're playing in this game.
Wow.
Well, I was proud.
Yeah.
I'd done it. I got bronchitis.
Oh no.
I got bronchitis.
No.
And I begged Stan Moore, let me go. No, they wouldn't have taken you anyway. They wouldn't have taken you with bronchitis.
No.
So I didn't go. Whoever went in my place must have done all right, and he got picked to go in the 16 to go and play in this World Cup.
Right.
So that was a bit of bad luck, but I was doing okay.
Yeah.
And then again, I played in the team whenever Hutchie was injured or Suddy was not doing. Alan was a player. They used to say I was very like Alan Suddy, but obviously nowhere near as good.
Right.
But more skilled than Braun and that. And I got picked in the first team a few times, and Alan wasn't, and I used to feel terribly guilty. And then Mr. Stokoe came from Sunderland, and it was a bit dour, you know. And you know, Lee, every player, besides statistics, every player has a story. You can look at statistics, and they don't tell you the whole story.
No.
So the season that Blackpool went into the Anglo-Italian, they got relegated from the First Division.
Indeed they did.
Premier League now.
Yeah.
When I look back now, he played me the last 10 games. So I couldn't have been doing that much wrong.
No.
And I was playing with Tony, it was my hero, Tommy Hutchie and all, Glenn, Jimmy,
So
Jimmy
you were a
Armfield.
winger, weren't you?
I was a winger at that time, but I could play on either wing or in the middle, in the midfield, really.
Yeah.
But you know, if I was anything, Lee, I was fit and fast. I was quick.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned earlier with CJ Hamilton, and I'm sure if you spoke to him, he'll agree. Fullbacks don't like people who run at them.
No.
To be fair, in our day, they give you a bit of a kicking than they're allowed to these days. 'Cause to me now, they seem to blow for a foul on a very solid tackle.
Yeah.
And I don't get that, because not every tackle's a foul, not every foul's a booking, but it seems to be sometimes.
It does seem to be that way. It's quite incredible.
Anyway,
you basically can't even touch people with a feather, can you?
No.
But they go down as well, don't they?
And they go down. They don't make it easy for the referee. And again, if this is dinosauric, this is what I think.
It's
because
all right, we all think
I'm
the
going to
same.
come to another bit of bad luck for me. But it was an injury, and trust me, Lee, if you get a bad injury, you do not tap the ground with your hand or kick your leg up and down like you see them doing.
No.
You're still. And I always think, see a player just lying still, he's got
It's
something serious there.
Yeah.
my opinion, Lee. It's just my opinion.
I agree with you.
Anyway.
You kind of know when somebody's really injured, especially when they go down off the ball. You know, when they just suddenly go
absolutely.
down.
And they lie still. They know.
Yeah, and the line they think, oh my gosh, this doesn't look good.
You've seen the films where somebody will just flick it and they'd hardly touch them and they're allowing as if they'd be... I have no time for that.
No,
anyway,
none of us have.
So I played those last 10 games and the Blackpool were invited to play in the Anglo-Italian.
Yeah.
So Mr. Stoko was here then. So he'd played me in the last 10 games, so I thought, it's more games for me. So the first 2 games were at home against Verona and Roma. Not in the team. Sub. It's a bit strange. Went to see him, as you do.
Yeah.
But he kind of just dismissed it as well, you know, we're doing this and you're not into this system, blah, blah. Fair enough. So they lost at home. They drew with Verona 3-3.
Right.
Alan Suddick scored the best goal I've ever seen a player score being on a pitch. He was facing the old South Stand.
Right.
Fullback was right up behind him. He flicked it over his head and the defender's head, ran around him. Another player now he's facing, like you're facing me.
Yeah.
Before it hit the deck, he flicked it over his head, ran round and volleyed it from about 20 yards. And you know the saying, Lee, as soon as it left its foot, it was in.
That's
it
like
was a magnificent goal.
On FIFA,
Well,
on
a shame.
Computer, whether you can do something like that.
It's just a shame, Lee, that it's not on film anyway.
Yeah.
It was magnificent.
Right.
Anyway, but they drew that game and lost at home. So we go away, and I'm sub, play Verona away. Now, no chance of qualifying because we'd drawn. And you used to get a point for a goal and points for the win. And we were a good few points behind. So we were going to Italy to fulfil the obligations, only expecting to be there a week. So the first game comes along, there is return fixtures reversed, played Verona away, won 4-1. So, and Mr. Stoko put me on, and I scored within like 5 minutes of being on. A goal that would be classed, sensational now. I'm not bigging it up, but quite easily, Lee, he could have ended up in the stand.
Yeah.
I mean, it was from about 25 yards. I hit it on a volley, and it flew in the net. Yeah, it could have gone anywhere, Lee, but it went in.
One of those you knew it was going to go in the minute you left your foot.
Of course. So that was that. I'd only been on about 10 minutes from the end. Anyhow, we won 4-1, so you get the 4 points. So then the next game's at Roma. And all these teams are Italian internationals at the time.
Absolutely, big teams.
Bearing in mind Blackpool had just been relegated.
Yeah.
And the match was at Roma, and on the Wednesday prior they played Stoke City, and there was rioting. And when you got to you could see all the seats that had been pulled up and all that.
Oh, God.
And it sounds crass now, but Blackpool had taken models of the tower and everything to give to the crowd. And they seemed to like Blackpool, and I never got on in that game, but Blackpool won 2-1.
Right.
So they get another 2 points for the goals and points for winning, which left them 1 point ahead of the team below, who had a game to go, and that team, if they'd have drawn, would have got to the final.
Right.
And they lost.
Oh,
so
we were in
all
the
of a
final.
sudden we're in the final, and we've another week to stay.
Right, blimey.
So we're training and that, doing that, and Mr. Stoko said, you can go out for a walk tonight, lads, and all that. And I have to be honest here, there was an incident, I was involved in it, it was nothing to do with drinking, we weren't drinking, and it was a bad incident, I shouldn't have done it, it was out of character. But I went back, I used to room with Pete Suddiby, I don't remember Pete, he was a centre half.
I remember the name, yeah.
Now I got back to the room and Mr. Stoko came round and said, all right lads, sorry to bother you, do you know anything about any trouble that's been on? No, I didn't tell Pete, I never said a word. He said, oh, sorry to disturb you, and he went. 5 minutes later, a big rap on the door, get out here, one. So how he found out, I have no idea, but he found out, and I think that was me signing my death sentence with Mr. Stoko.
Yeah, what a shame.
But here comes the naughty bit to me. So I was married quite young, and I had a daughter, and I was playing in the Central League team, playing well actually, and Alan Ainscough, who's come to the club, I was a good player, really good lad. He said to me, you need to go, Dennis, you've no chance here. So whether he'd been sat as a sub and heard what Stoker was saying or whatever. But so anyway, he pulled me in and told me that I'd never play for Blackpool again. You won't even play in the Central League team. You're on the transfer list, and York City want to sign you. Well, I have to prelude that. Jimmy had retired at the end, Jimmy Armfield. He'd gone to Bolton as manager. Jimmy wanted to take me to Bolton because he'd seen how I'd come up as a young lad.
Yeah.
And he'd see me every day. I played with him in the team. So I went to see Mr. Stoker, knocked on his door, and he used to sit on a kind of raised seat. It's an old management ploy, isn't it? And you're down here and you're looking up to him.
Yes, of course.
You know, what do you want? A kind of snarl. I said, well, I know you've told me I'll never play anymore, and I'm on the list. And I'd been talking to Jimmy the night before, which you weren't supposed to do, but it always went on like, has anybody been in for me? He said yes, and he rhymed off the bottom 4 clubs in the 4th division, the bottom.
Oh, lovely.
And I thought, you never mentioned Bolton, at all. And I couldn't say because you weren't supposed to. And like today, if that happened today, Lee, any of those players, they could just say to them, stuff.
Yeah, because they'd have agents and all the rest of it.
And then they could also say, that's fair enough, I'll wait till like the contract and I'm off.
Yes.
But in those days, they had what they called your registration. And as long as they held that, as long as they didn't give you a free transfer,
right,
you couldn't go anywhere. And there were no agents, as you say,
yeah,
Lee. So, and he wouldn't give me a free transfer.
Right.
He wouldn't give me a free transfer. No. So he called me in about 3 days later. He said, oh, York City want to sign you.
Right.
I think it was just under £10,000, something like that. I didn't want to go to York. Anyway, I went over, met the manager. He was okay, you know, told me where he wanted me to do, where he wanted me to play. I said, that's fine. And I came back and I was supposed to phone him the next day, and I thought, I don't want to go to York, I want to go to Bolton.
Yes.
And don't forget, I was married with a child. I could get a good deal. Jimmy signed Pete Nicholson. I don't know if you know Peter. He had 10 good years at Bolton, and they were up and down, you know, they were at the top. Yeah. Peter's still a very good friend of mine. Anyway, in the end, I signed for York City in the February, just under 10,000. And I never missed a minute playing for York. Never missed. You didn't want to be rotated. No. The only time you missed a game was you were dropped, or you were injured. Yeah, sure. I don't think many players of our area wanted to be rotated. No. Certainly I didn't. No. Anyway, and I never missed a minute. Never missed a minute so it was like me from April to the end of the season, and the next season started. York just avoided relegation to the 4th. We started the next season, I was doing really well. Got to Boxing Day, I was playing at Oldham Athletic. I'll never forget it. I hate that ground, I'll never forget it. I guess there'd be 13 or 14,000 there on a Boxing Day then. Yeah. It was to be my last game for York City. I was going to Sheffield United for 40 grand. So I'd only gone in for 10 in the February, and I was going to Sheffield United. They were in the 1st division then, for 40 grand, and I broke my leg 9 minutes from the end. Oh no. And I sometimes look back and think, you idiot, why did you just pull out of that, you know? But you play football as you play football, and as I mentioned to you earlier, Lee, I wasn't a tackling kind of player. I was a bit of a, fans would call you a fancy nutmeg king or knock it past and run, which I did a lot. You went to hard, man. You didn't go in hard. I used to tackle pathetic. I got sent off 3 times, only for bad technique, not malice. Yeah. Anyway, I broke my leg 9 minutes from the end of that game, and it took me probably 13 or 14 months to get back. And then I just played. I got back into York's team and we got promoted to the Championship. Right. Strangely enough, I'm going in 2 weeks to a reunion of that team. Right. And we did it with 17 players, Lee. Wow. 17 players. Unbelievable, isn't it? I think the centre half played 400 and something games for York on the trot. Wow. You'll never get that now. No, you won't. But what York was the manager was a guy who had a system, as I explained earlier, which I think is what the Blackpool manager's doing now and doing really well. And he knew players that would probably fit into it. So I fought my way back. Play players in the correct position seems to be a good one, I always think, which hopefully we'll see tonight. It would appear to me to be common sense. No. odd times players have to fill in things.
Yeah, of course.
And so you should be able to.
But the best thing is them to play a position they've played all since they were boys, and they know if you're a right back and he puts you at right back, like Jordan Gabriel is a right back, he will he knows how to be a right back. You don't need to train him on being a right back, do you? You just need to make sure he's fit and the system works. But just going back to the Anglo-Italian, because we do need to mention this. You came on.
Yeah.
Stokoe did let you play.
Well, I told you I came in. I scored that goal in Verona when I came on.
You did, but in the final, he put you on in extra time, didn't he?
Yeah, I think it was first or second minute of extra
And for
time.
anybody who doesn't know, I don't know if I should steal your thunder or not, but Dennis played a long ball out to the left wing, down to Mickey Burns. From the centre circle, really, wasn't it?
Just shy of the centre circle.
Just a perfect ball. Picked it up lovely, Mickey Burns. Then he cut inside. I think he beat like 2 players going round, running across, and he just did an absolute screamer, didn't he? In the top left-hand bins.
He did.
And that won the Anglo-Italian Cup for Blackpool. We are the only team in Lancashire to have ever won a European title. And you had the assist.
I did have the assist.
You will go down in history as it. So if anybody watches that video, that was you putting the ball through to Mickey Burns. Just tell me about the feeling of winning that, because obviously.
Well, that day, it's hard. Time can play tricks with your memory, but it was about 83 or 4 degrees that day.
Yeah.
And I have to say, Alan Suddick, he looked more an Italian player and he was magnificent.
Yeah.
And as I explained to my favourite player was Tony Green.
Yes.
But that day, Alan Suddick he would have been so suited to Italian football, Alan. But it was so hot, and John Burridge had just come to the club. He played really, really well.
Right.
And I think it was camaraderie, really, that got us through. Because I think without a doubt, they had better players. I think they had 2 or 3 internationals in their team.
Yeah, we came back from a goal down as well, didn't we? They scored first. So
John Craven, who's sadly not here anymore.
And they were at home, weren't they?
Yeah, it was on their home ground.
Yeah.
And it was full, but they gave Blackpool a great reception after that. It was great.
Yeah.
And I have to say, after the game we went out, I don't remember too much about that. I went out with Tommy Hutchie and Tony Green.
Right.
And I don't really remember much about that. But what I find strangely, having been back to Blackpool, there's no picture or memory of that team anywhere on the wall. Rightly so, where the team that got to the Premier League, so they should have all the plaudits. But you'd think somewhere along the line there'd be a picture of that team.
You would, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I found that strange. I don't know. I've never.
I need to mention it to Simon Sadler. If you're watching this video, we need a picture of that, because it is one of our greatest achievements.
It was a good achievement.
Yeah. In fact, they're actually thinking of bringing it back.
Are they?
There is talk about at the moment bringing the Anglo-Italian back, yeah.
I'm sure all those players that played would never have experienced European football had it not been in existence.
Yeah.
It was a secondary competition.
It doesn't matter. It was
You're in a competition to win, aren't you?
Yeah, it's a European title. You can never take it away. And we've only won 2 major trophies. Like, we've only won the FA Cup in the whole history of Blackpool. So it is one of those things. I actually worked with the Blackburn Rovers. He watches Blackpool because he lives in Blackpool. He goes with his son, but he's Blackburn Rovers, and he is jealous that we've won a European title.
Well, you can't take it away from him. Is that what they say, Lee?
You can't.
That's what they say.
So, after York...
Right, so at York we got promoted to the Championship.
Yeah.
Really good achievement for a club like York.
Yeah.
We lasted 1 year. At one stage, about this time of the season, maybe 3 or 4 more, we were 5th.
Wow.
We managed to stay in the first year, and then the next year we got relegated.
A bit like Blackpool with Crichton.
Very similar, yeah. But the manager had departed who got us promoted, and Wilf McGuinness came from Manchester United.
Right.
Well, Wilf was an absolute fabulous guy in that, but he made some weird decisions, in my opinion, and I shall be saying this when I go in 3 weeks to York.
Yeah.
The team was broken up too quick, given that we were all... I get it with myself and another lad called John Stone, who was a very good player. When I was going to go to Sheffield United, Everton wanted him. So it shows you the standard we were playing at. He broke his ankle, so he was as unlucky as me. So I get how they got rid of us. I do get that, but the rest of the guys, they were all in their early to mid-20s, and they signed a guy called Barry Lyons from Notts Forest. He'd played for Notts Forest a lot. He was very talented and very experienced. If they'd have signed 2 more like him, I think we would have stayed in there.
Right.
But Will signed 2 players from Man United who were all right at Man United, but they couldn't hack it playing for York. They looked poor. And I'm not going to name them because that's unfair.
Yeah.
But they looked poor. They couldn't hack it.
No.
They were getting turned and everything by lads they've probably never even heard of.
Oh, no.
Yeah. But they're not playing with as good a set of players as Man United were at the time.
So how many games did you play for York in the end?
Oh, it's probably about 80 or something.
80 odd.
Yeah. And then when they got rid of me, I went to Darlington.
Oh, well, yes, I was just going to say, before you mention this, I'm just going to say hello, Ian Barron, if you're watching this. He comes in on most of my videos and comments, but he always used to comment about Darlington, especially during lockdown. Everything we talked about always seemed to end up back at Darlington FC, and we used to say Darlington was like the epicentre of the universe, so he'll be really pleased that you ended up playing at Darlington, didn't you? So did you finish your career at Darlington?
No.
Okay.
So what happened when I played at Darlington, 130 or something.
Yeah, you played.
But weirdly and bizarrely, when Wilf McGuinness broke that team up at York, 4 of that promotion-winning team ended up at Darlington.
Oh.
And they were all good players. One was a striker who scored 20-odd goals. Barry Lyons came. John Stone came when he got back and I went. But we never seemed to do anything at Darlington. They were always at the bottom. We always used to finish 10th or something.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get it. Because they had 1 or 2 good players that's out there.
Yeah.
But it was a happy club, I have to say. It was a happy club.
Yeah, they're nice people over in the northeast.
They were really good. Yeah. And then what happened then was the manager changed. He went to Rochdale, and in the interim, I'd bought a 13-bedroom guest house in Blackpool. And my wife were running it, so a new manager came and said, I can't keep travelling here. So the guy who'd left on come and sign me for about 10 grand to Rochdale. I can't remember how many games I played there. And then I was getting to 30, 31.
Yeah.
And Alan Brown was the Blackpool manager. Oh. And they offered me a 2-year contract, Rochdale. And I said, no, I can't keep travelling. I've had enough of the travelling, So I asked if I could train at Blackpool just to keep fit in a way.
Yeah.
Anyway, cut a long story short, they ended up signing me back. But and I did all right when I came back. I was all right because I was mature.
What year was that then?
80, 81.
Oh, okay.
So they had Colin Morris, Stan McEwen, all them players.
Yeah.
They were good players. Colin Morris was a super player.
Yeah.
Dave Bamber, Hesketh.
Oh, yeah.
They were all great lads. And the same thing happened there that used to happen at the England youth. When I first went training, they used to from Rochdale, you could see them. Yeah. But after 6 or 7 weeks, I just became one of them, and I became really friendly with Brian Wilson, who married one of the Nolan sisters.
All right.
That's how we. That's another story. We all ended up at Blackpool Wren Rovers, running Blackpool Wren Rovers.
Oh.
There were 7 Blackpool players running Blackpool Wren Rovers.
Right.
So I came back and I was doing all right.
Yeah.
And then I didn't realise how badly off Blackpool were. I always looked for the results, and that was about it.
Yeah.
And then they came in January, and everyone that was on it, I had a 1-year contract, but I could have had 2 at Rochdale. And they paid everybody up who was on a 1-year contract, and then said, you can still come and train and you might even play in the team and that. And a friend of mine was at York City. He said, I'll come back over here. So I must be one of the few players like a boomerang that signed for 2 clubs twice.
Right.
But I signed as a non-contract player at York. That kind of lasted till the end of that season, and that's when I finished.
Yeah.
And I went playing part-time.
So you've kind of stayed in Blackpool, haven't you? I mean, you are,
I lived in York for 6 years, which is a beautiful place.
Oh,
it's a beautiful place.
Yeah,
beautiful
It is really nice. The river and everything is.
Yeah, it's lovely. And now I live in St Annesley. Funnily enough, after I sold the guest house, I bought Dave Hatton's news agency in St Anne's.
Right.
And I ran it for 35 years. And It was a very good news agency in its time. We had 15 delivery boys in the morning. It was good business, but like all businesses, Lee, hit by the internet, gradually getting hit by the internet.
Yeah.
So I got out in about, I think I've been out of it probably about 6 years now.
Yeah.
So I really retired then.
So I know you do a little bit of amateur dramatics.
I did.
Oh, you did, yes.
You knew who got me into that, and he was another Blackpool player. It was Dave Sorella.
Oh.
And if you ever watch this, Dave, he's not too well, Dave.
He's not. I actually did the
well.
video of Dave Sorella's, you know, when we did that charity thing for him,
right.
remember, at St Anne's.
That's right. Yeah. I think I was there.
You were.
Probably.
Yeah, you were.
But Dave was a fabulous guy, and he was real. He got me to go when I had an incident in my life like you've experienced, and yours has turned out good, mine didn't.
Yeah.
And I was down. He said, "Oh, come and join the amateur dramatics." So my first reaction was, well, you know, I can't say what I said, but what that load of, do you know what? They were the best kind of people. They were so talented, and there's so much work goes into amateur dramatics.
Yeah.
And I went to my first audition for a part, and I got the big part.
Oh.
So, and I won a prize in North West.
Right. What was the show?
It was like Robinson Crusoe.
Oh, right.
I was like the captain of Robinson Crusoe.
Oh, right, cool.
But,
where did
but
that play?
Dave used to say to me, yeah, well, you win that. You used to act that you were a footballer. I went, very funny, Dave. Because Dave was a no-nonsense player, Dave. He was a tough player.
So did you have did you have any pre-match superstitions? I need to ask. It's one thing I always ask. With it, you know, did you have to be out on the last on the pitch? No, nothing like that.
In our day, you didn't go out as early as they go out now. So I would probably sit quietly reading the programme.
Oh, right.
That's how I did. Other players were a bit nervous. They'd be tapping the ball about and that. But
who was the sort of the comedian in the dressing room back in those days?
Back in those days,
at Blackpool. Who did you say?
Blackpool. Well, Greeny could.
Well, yeah,
Greeny, yeah. Hutchie, he could cut you down with a stroke. Like. If you didn't like Hutchie, he could be quite cruel to you. But I did get on quite well with both of them. And as I say, Suddy, I was sadly Alan's not with us now.
No.
But to the day he left, I was very, very close with Suddy.
Oh. Who was the best trainer?
I can tell you who the worst was.
Who was the worst?
Tony
Green.
Shocking.
No way.
Shocking. I mean, a lot of players can do the training, can't they? And some can't. Tony.
No.
Ask Tony to do a lap or forget it. As soon as he crossed that white line on a Saturday, he was electric.
He was magic.
The good trainers. Well, you know, there was another player at Blackpool called Ronnie Brown. He did play a few games in the first team. He was in the same mould as Tony Green.
Right.
He had all the attributes Tony had, but he was such a complex character.
Yeah.
And he would turn up to the Central League and he would say, leave me out, don't give it to me too much, I'm not on it today. I thought, really?
Wow.
But then he'd come and say, I'm on it, give it, and he'd be sensational. He could take 3 or 4 players out.
Wow. Well, hopefully, we're going to get off to the match soon because time is running.
Well, I hope I haven't bored you too much.
No, you haven't. It's been absolutely fantastic, but we can talk more anyway in the match as well. But we're going to see this young lad, Rob Actor, tonight. Hopefully he can
well, I'm looking forward to
remind you
seeing
of Tony Green. So thanks a lot. Thank you very much for that.
And thank you for inviting me.
It's an absolute pleasure. I'm really looking forward to it. So I hope all you watching this enjoy it. And we're going to get off to the game. Also, we're in Costa Coffee, and you can see there. You can always buy me a coffee. There will be a little QR code in the corner which you can click on, and you can buy me a coffee. So we can do it again with another former player soon. Hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, please give the video a like, and if you haven't yet subscribed, there's a little button there. You can just click on that to subscribe. That really helps. If you enjoyed that interview and you want to see more, there's a playlist of interviews just there. And if you like football-y stuff, you may want to check out our other channel, The Football Tourist Guide, just there. Thanks a lot for watching. See you in the next one.